When I organized a celebration for my relative's promotion, my parents mocked me for being a failure despite me funding their trips. So, I cut all ties. Be me, 28-year-old Marcus. Contractor for about 9 years now. Started right after graduating high school. Worked for this old guy named Frank. He taught me everything about framing and drywall. Basically the whole construction game. Busted my ass to get where I am today. Saved every single penny I could. Eventually started taking my own jobs. Nothing too fancy at first. Bathroom remodels and kitchen updates. Fixing porches that were falling apart. But here's what always pissed me off. My family, especially mom and sister Victoria. Victoria is 26 and works in digital advertising. They never took what I do seriously. Like ever. When people ask what I do for work, mom goes, "Oh, Marcus fixes things." Not Marcus is a contractor. Not Marcus runs his own renovation business. Just fixes things. Like I'm some neighborhood handyman, working for beer money or something. Victoria works for this tech startup. Gets promoted every few months. Posts about it constantly on LinkedIn. Acts like she's running Apple or something. Don't get me wrong, her job is probably fine. But the way my family talks about it versus mine, complete night and day difference. Victoria mentions some client pitch she gave. Mom's like, "Oh, honey, that's wonderful. Tell us everything about it." Meanwhile, I spend 4 months turning someone's disaster basement into a beautiful family room. Mom's response is, "That's nice, dear. Are you staying busy?" My dad was actually the worst about this. Before he passed 3 years ago, cancer got him. Those last few months were rough on everyone. But even when he was sick, still made these little comments about how I play with tools all day, while Victoria had a real career, with benefits and a 401k. I remember this one Thanksgiving dinner, when I was maybe 24, just finished this huge project, completely renovated this couple's kitchen, from the studs out. Custom cabinets, marble countertops, tile backsplash I did by hand. The whole works. Took me 3 months. They were over the moon with the results. I was pretty proud of it too, so I'm telling the family about it. Over dinner, showing pictures on my phone, before and after shots. Dad looks at the photos for maybe 10 seconds. Goes, "That's nice, son. When are you going to get a real job? With health insurance?" Then immediately turns to Victoria, asks about her latest work project. For 30 minutes straight, that stung pretty bad, but I just swallowed it, like always. Figured maybe when I started making better money, they'd start taking me seriously. Well, joke's on me, because even when I started pulling in decent cash, and I mean decent money, doing high-end renovations, the attitude never changed. If anything, it got worse after Dad died. Now Mom acts like I'm this lost soul, who still hasn't figured out what he wants to do with his life. The crazy part is, I'm actually good at this. My clients love me. Got guys calling me all the time, wanting me to work on their projects. Word-of-mouth referrals keep me booked, months in advance. But to my family, I'm still just the guy who fixes things. The one they call when Mom's garbage disposal breaks, or when Victoria needs help moving furniture, never mind that I can design and build custom cabinetry from scratch, or that I know enough about electrical work to rewire an entire house safely. Nope, I'm just the handyman. So here's where things went completely sideways. Last month, Victoria got promoted. Some manager position at her tech startup, area coordinator or regional something. Don't even remember what she called it. But apparently it was a huge deal, because Mom decided to throw this whole celebration dinner. She booked this steakhouse in Midtown, invited extended family, made it into this whole production. I'm talking aunts, uncles, cousins, the works, even got a cake made, with "Congratulations, Victoria" written on it. Now normally, I would have found an excuse to skip this kind of thing, but mom guilt tripped me into coming. It's important to support your sister Marcus. Family shows up for each other. Yeah, okay, Mom, when's the last time anyone showed up? For one of my achievements. But whatever, I went, put on a clean shirt, drove to Midtown, prepared myself for 3 hours of listening to everyone shower Victoria with praise about her corporate success. The dinner was exactly what I expected. Victoria holding court at the head of the table, talking about her new responsibilities, her team of 6 people, her strategic vision for the department, everyone hanging on every word. Like she just discovered penicillin. Uncle Tony asks about her salary, which is rude as hell, but nobody calls him out on it. Victoria just smiles and says, "Let's just say I'm very happy. with the compensation package. Everyone oohs and ahs, like she hit the lottery. Aunt Linda starts going on about how proud Dad would be if he could see Victoria now, how he always knew she was destined for great things, how she's the success story of the family. I just sat there eating my steak, trying not to roll my eyes. Then came the speeches, because of course there had to be speeches at a dinner for a promotion that probably came with like a 12% raise and a fancy title. My cousin Derek went first. He's actually a good guy, doesn't play favorites with the family politics. He raised his glass and said something like, "Here's to Victoria, proof that hard work and dedication pay off. Really proud of what you've accomplished." Everyone drank to that. Fair enough. She did work for her promotion. Then Mom stands up with her glass. And this is where I should have seen it coming. But I was just sitting there, minding my own business. "I want to toast both of my children tonight," she says. "Victoria, for showing us what success looks like when you set your mind to something. And Marcus." I looked up thinking maybe finally she was going to acknowledge that I've been busting my ass for years, building a successful business, for always being there to help with the heavy lifting. The whole table laughed, like it was the funniest thing they'd ever heard. Heavy lifting. That's how she summed up everything I do. I felt my face get hot, but I just nodded and smiled like always, took a sip of my drink, and pretended it didn't bother me. But inside I was done. Completely done. The rest of dinner was a blur. More stories about Victoria's amazing career trajectory. More predictions about how far she's going to go in the company. More jokes about good old reliable Marcus, who's always around to help move furniture. After dinner, the whole crew headed to the parking lot. Everyone's hugging Victoria goodbye, taking pictures, making plans to get together soon. And then, because apparently the universe has a sense of humor, Victoria's car wouldn't start. Guess who everyone looked at to fix it? "Marcus, you're good with cars, right?" Uncle Tony says. "Can you take a look?" So there I am in my good shirt and dress pants, popping the hood of Victoria's Honda in a restaurant parking lot, while she stands there texting her boyfriend about her promotion dinner. Turned out to be a loose battery connection. Took me about 3 minutes to tighten it up and get her car running. Easy fix. "Thanks, Marcus," she says, not even looking up from her phone. "You're always so good at this stuff." This stuff, like basic problem solving, is some mysterious talent, instead of just being competent with tools. I got in my truck and drove home, without saying much to anyone. My phone started buzzing around 11 p.m. "Mom, thanks for coming tonight. Wasn't it wonderful to celebrate Victoria's success? Victoria, thanks for helping with my car. You saved the day as usual." Then about an hour later, another text from Victoria. "Are you mad about something? Mom said you seemed quiet at dinner." I stared at that message for a long time. Was I mad? Hell yes, I was mad, but not for the reasons they'd think. I wasn't mad about Victoria getting promoted. Good for her, seriously. I wasn't even mad about the dinner or the celebration. I was mad about being reduced to the guy who helps with heavy lifting. I was mad about spending years building a successful business and having my own mother treat it like a hobby. I was mad about being the family's go-to problem solver while getting zero recognition for anything I'd accomplished, but mostly I was mad at myself for expecting anything different. I didn't text back that night or the next morning when more messages came in. From Mom. "Marcus, are you seriously mad because of the comment I made at dinner? It wasn't meant to hurt you." Then another one. "Call me back. You're being dramatic. It was just a joke." That word dramatic, like my feelings about being constantly disrespected, were just me overreacting, like 28 years of being treated as the lesser sibling, was all in my head. I turned my phone off and went to work instead. Had a bathroom renovation to finish. And unlike my family dinner, that was something I could actually control. But here's the thing they didn't know. While they were all celebrating Victoria's corporate climb, I'd been working on something that was going to change everything. Something that would show them exactly what this heavy lifting guy was capable of. I just hadn't decided whether I wanted them to see it or not. About a year and a half ago, I was driving through this older neighborhood on the west side of town when I spotted this house that caught my attention. And when I say caught my attention, I mean it was a complete disaster that made me slam on the brakes and stare. This place was a foreclosure that had been sitting empty for over 3 years. The bank was basically giving it away because nobody wanted to touch it. We're talking broken windows, roof damage, foundation issues, the works. Most people would drive by and see it tear down. I saw potential. The bones were good though. 1940s build, solid construction, decent lot size in a neighborhood that was starting to turn around. Young families moving in, a couple of coffee shops opening up, that kind of thing. I knew if someone put real work into it, it could be something special. So I started researching the property, found out the bank was asking $92K for a house that would probably be worth $320K if it was fixed up properly. The catch was it needed everything: electrical, plumbing, HVAC, flooring, you name it. Plus, whoever bought it would have to deal with the city about code violations and permits. Most contractors would look at a project like that and run the other way. Too much risk, too much hassle, too many unknowns. But I'd been doing this long enough to know how to estimate cost and timelines. More importantly, I'd been saving money for years, specifically for an opportunity like this. See, while Victoria was leasing new cars and taking vacations to Europe, I'd been living cheap and banking everything I could. Still drove my old F-150, rented the same basic apartment for 7 years, bought all my clothes at Target. My buddies used to give me grief about being tight with money, but I had a plan. I wanted to buy a place and turn it into exactly what I wanted, not a flip to sell for profit, but somewhere I could actually live, somewhere that would show what I'm really capable of, when I'm not just patching other people's problems. So I made an offer on the foreclosure. Bank accepted immediately. Probably couldn't believe someone was willing to take it off their hands. Closed 4 weeks later and started planning the renovation. This wasn't going to be some weekend warrior project. I'm talking full gut job, taking it down to the studs and rebuilding everything from scratch. New electrical throughout, all new plumbing, replacing the HVAC system, refinishing the original hardwood floors, complete kitchen and bathroom remodels. I took time off from client work and treated this like my full-time job, up at 6 a.m. every day, working until dark, weekends included. Some days I'd have my crew guys come help with the big stuff, but most of it I did myself. I spent weeks fully renovating this rundown house, handling every major system like a pro. I rewired the entire electrical setup to meet code, swapped out all the old plumbing with modern PEX lines, made sure every step was cleared with city inspectors. Throughout the whole house, I installed smart home stuff, programmable thermostats, automated lighting, security system, the works. Not because I needed all that tech, but because I wanted to show I could do it. Took me 9 months total, working basically full-time. There were days I wanted to quit, especially when I hit unexpected problems, like finding more structural damage than I'd planned for. But I pushed through because this wasn't just a house. It was proof of what I could do. When I finally finished, the place was incredible, like something you'd see in a magazine. Every detail exactly how I wanted it, every room flowing into the next perfectly. I'd taken this condemned wreck and turned it into a dream home. And the whole time, not one person in my family asked what I was working on. Not once did Mom or Victoria wonder why I wasn't taking as many client jobs, or what I was doing with all my time. They just assumed I was doing the same small repair work I'd always done, which was perfect, because I wasn't ready for them to see it yet. This was mine, something they couldn't minimize or dismiss, or turn into a joke. So I moved in and spent a few weeks just enjoying the space, waking up every morning in a house I'd built with my own hands, cooking in a kitchen I designed exactly how I wanted it, taking showers in a bathroom. That was better than anything in the fancy hotels Victoria posts about on Instagram. That's when I decided to throw a housewarming party. Not for my family. They'd had plenty of chances to show interest in my work. This was for the people who actually got it. My crew guys, former clients who'd become friends, other contractors I'd worked with over the years, and my cousin Derek, because he's always been cool and doesn't play the family politics game. The party was everything I wanted it to be. Good food, good people. Everyone genuinely impressed by what I'd accomplished. Guys were taking pictures of the woodwork, asking about the electrical layout, wanting to know how I'd managed the timeline. These were people who understood what goes into a project like this, who could appreciate the skill and planning and sheer amount of work it took to pull off Derek was blown away. Kept walking around saying he had no idea I could do work at this level, taking pictures of everything, genuinely excited about what I'd built. "You should post some of these pics," he said. "People need to see what you can do." I just smiled and told him maybe I would, but honestly I was just enjoying having people around who treated my work like it mattered. Little did I know that Derek's big mouth was about to change everything. 3 days after my housewarming party, there's some family barbecue at my aunt's house that I didn't go to. Had a client meeting that Sunday about a kitchen remodel, so I had a legit excuse to skip it. Plus, honestly, after that dinner, where I got reduced to heavy lifting, I wasn't really in the mood for more family time. But Derek was there, and apparently he couldn't keep his mouth shut about my house. According to what I heard later, he's showing everyone pictures from the party and going on and on about how incredible the renovation was. "You guys should see what Marcus did with this place," he's telling Mom and Victoria. "It's unbelievable. The guy's like an artist with construction work." Now Derek meant well. He was genuinely impressed and wanted to brag on his cousin. But he doesn't understand the family dynamics, doesn't know that Mom and Victoria have spent years treating my work like it's just a step above ditch digging. So there's Mom looking at pictures of my custom kitchen and open floor plan, probably wondering how the hell the family handyman managed to pull off something that professional. And Victoria's seeing photos of a house that's nicer than her downtown apartment that she's always bragging about. Derek told them everything about the party, about all the contractors who came, about how impressed everyone was with the work. He even mentioned that I'd bought the place as a foreclosure and renovated it myself. Over 9 months, my phone started going crazy that afternoon. 8 missed calls from Mom by the time I got done with my client meeting. 5 from Victoria. 4 voicemails I didn't bother listening to. The texts started rolling in. "Marcus, call me back right now. Why didn't you tell us about the house? We're coming over to see it. I can't believe you didn't tell your own mother you bought a house." I ignored all of it, stopped at Lowe's to pick up materials for my next project, and left my phone in the truck while I shopped. Figured I'd deal with the family drama later. When I got home around 7 p.m., there's Mom's silver Accord sitting in my driveway. She and Victoria are on my front porch, like they own the place. "Marcus," Mom calls out as I'm getting out of my truck. "We've been waiting for 3 hours. I grab my Lowe's bags and walk up slowly. "Okay, Derek showed us pictures," Victoria says, standing up from the porch step. "This place is amazing. Why didn't you tell us you bought a house?" I looked at both of them standing there, expecting answers. "When's the last time either of you asked me about my work?" Mom waves her hand like I'm being ridiculous. "Oh, Marcus, don't be silly. We ask about your work all the time." "No, you don't. You ask if I'm staying busy. You ask if I'm making enough money to get by. You don't ask what I'm building or what projects I'm proud of." Victoria's getting that impatient look she always gets when things don't go her way. "Can we see inside? Derek said you completely renovated it yourself." "No." They both stared at me, like I just told them I was joining the circus. "What do you mean, no?" Mom asked. "I mean, this is my house, my space, and I didn't invite you here." That's when Victoria's voice got sharp. "We're family, Marcus. You can't just shut us out like this. Watch me." Mom starts doing that thing where she acts hurt and confused. "Marcus, I don't understand what's gotten into you. We just want to see what you've accomplished. We're proud of you." "Proud of me, Mom? 4 days ago you toasted me as the guy who helps with heavy lifting. You've spent years treating my work like it's a hobby. Now suddenly you're proud? That was just a joke, Marcus. You know I didn't mean anything by it." "Yeah, it's always just a joke. Every comment about when I'm going to get a real job, every time you introduce me as the guy who fixes things, every family gathering where you spend 3 hours talking about Victoria's career and 45 seconds on mine. All just jokes, right?" Victoria jumps in. "You're being dramatic, Marcus. We've always supported you." "Supported me, Victoria? When's the last time you asked me about a project I was working on? When's the last time you showed any interest in what I do beyond needing something fixed?" She doesn't have an answer for that, because we both know it's never happened. "Look," Mom says, "maybe we haven't always shown our appreciation the right way, but we're here now. We want to see what you've done. Derek said it's beautiful. You want to see it because other people were impressed. You want to see it because suddenly It looks like something worth bragging about. Where were you when I was working 18-hour days? For 9 months, where were you when I was dealing with permits and inspections and all the stress of managing a project this big? We didn't know, Mom starts. I cut her off. You didn't know because you didn't ask. You didn't care enough to find out what I was working on. The three of us stood there in silence for a minute. I could see them trying to figure out how to handle this version of me. The Marcus they knew would have caved by now, would have given them the tour, and pretended everything was fine. But that Marcus was done. So that's it? Victoria finally says. You're just going to shut us out because we hurt your feelings. This isn't about hurt feelings. This is about respect. You've made it clear for years that what I do doesn't matter to you, that I'm just the guy you call when something needs fixing. I'm not mad about it anymore, but I'm also not pretending it didn't happen. Mom tries one more time. Marcus, honey, you're family. Family doesn't shut each other out over misunderstandings. It wasn't a misunderstanding, Mom. It was a pattern, and I'm done with it. They left after that, but not quietly. Lots of huffing and dramatic sighs about how I was acting strange and being hurtful. Victoria kept shaking her head, like I was some puzzle she couldn't solve. As they're getting in the car, Mom turns back. Your father would be very disappointed in how you're treating family. That one stung, but I stayed calm. Dad spent years making jokes about my work too. Maybe he would have been proud if he'd lived to see what I could actually build. They drove off, and I went inside my house that I'd built with my own hands. For the first time in my life, I'd stood up to them, told them exactly how their jokes had made me feel, set a boundary and stuck to it. It felt pretty damn good, but I should have known they weren't going to. Just accept it and move on. Family like mine doesn't handle rejection well. The real drama was just getting started. Over the next week, I started getting weird calls and texts from relatives I barely talked to. First, it was my Aunt Linda calling on a Wednesday night, saying she was concerned about me and wanted to check in. Your mom mentioned you've been acting differently lately, she says. I just wanted to make sure you're doing okay, acting differently. That's code for not being the family doormat anymore. I told her I was fine, just busy with work. She keeps pushing though. She said you bought a house and didn't tell anyone. That doesn't sound like you, Marcus. You've always been so close with your family. Close with my family, right? Close enough to fix their cars and move their furniture, but not close enough to be treated with basic respect. Yeah, I bought a house. Been working on renovating it. Well, that's wonderful. But honey, why wouldn't you share something like that with your mom? She's really hurt. There it is. Mom's hurt? Not maybe Mom should examine why her son felt like he couldn't share good news with her. Just straight to making me the bad guy for having feelings about how I've been treated. I kept the call short and polite. Didn't feel like explaining the whole situation to someone who was clearly just calling to gather intel for Mom. 3 days later, my Uncle Tony texts me. Hey man, heard you got a new place. Everything good with you? Your mom seems worried. Then my cousin Jessica sends this long message about how grief affects everyone differently, and maybe I should talk to someone about Dad's death. As if buying a house and standing up for myself was some kind of mental breakdown. It took me a few days to piece together what was happening. Mom and Victoria were making the rounds, telling everyone their version of events, and their version painted me as the unstable one. The story they were spreading was that I'd changed since Dad died, that I was becoming bitter and resentful, shutting out family who just wanted to support me. They made it sound like I'd gotten lucky with a house flip, and now thought I was better than everyone else. Victoria was telling people I was acting like a big shot and had forgotten where I came from. Mom was going with the grief angle, saying I wasn't processing Dad's death well and was taking it out on the family. During this mess, Derek messaged me. Hey man, I owe you an apology. I shouldn't have said anything about the party or the house. I didn't know there was tension with your mom and Victoria. If I'd known, I would have kept my mouth shut. I told him not to worry about it. You didn't do anything wrong. You just said something true in a room that didn't want to hear it. Then he added, still, just so you know, your mom told Aunt Linda something weird after. She said, I don't know what's gotten into Marcus. We raised him better than this. Maybe success went to his head. Success went to my head. I poured everything I had into turning a condemned house into something beautiful And she acts like I won the lottery, like I just stumbled into it. Not a word about the work, the years, the sacrifice. Just a quick swipe at my character, wrapped in fake concern. The worst part was how they were rewriting history. Suddenly, they'd always been supportive of my work. Suddenly, those jokes about me just fixing things were harmless family teasing that I was taking too seriously. Suddenly, I was the dramatic one who couldn't take a joke. None of them mentioned how they dismissed my work. For years, none of them brought up that dinner where Mom literally toasted me as the guy who helps with heavy lifting. Nope, I was just an ungrateful son who was shutting out his loving family for no good reason. I was getting tired of defending myself to relatives who weren't even there for any of it. These people didn't know about the years of being treated like the family screw-up. They just heard Mom and Victoria's version, where they were innocent victims of my sudden personality change. The breaking point came when my cousin Ashley called. She's Victoria's age, and they've always been tight. So I figured this conversation was going to go a certain way. "Marcus, what's going on with you and your mom?" she asked right off the bat. "Victoria's really upset. She said you won't even let them see your house." "That's between me and them, Ashley. But you guys have always been so close. I don't understand what changed. Always been so close. Jesus, these people live in a fantasy world. Look, Ashley, I appreciate you calling, but this isn't really your business. It is my business when my family's falling apart. Victoria's been crying about this for days. She said you just completely shut them out. After they tried to celebrate your success, tried to celebrate my success. That's a good one." Ashley brought up the promotion dinner, like it was just another gathering, said Victoria. Mentioned I seemed off, like no one could figure out why I was quiet. Funny how they left out the part where I got reduced to the family helper again, standing there while everyone clapped for Victoria's corporate ladder climb, and Mom tossed me a bone for helping with the heavy lifting. I asked if she knew what Mom said in her toast. There was a pause, like she was trying to remember or maybe dodge the point. I told her how Mom toasted Victoria for her big success, and then turned to me smiling wide, thanking me for lifting chairs and setting up in front of everyone. Another pause. She tried to soften it, say it was probably just a joke, like all the other jokes about when I'd get a real job, or when they introduced me as the guy who fixes things, instead of saying I run my own crew and business. Just harmless family humor, right? Ashley didn't have much to add after that. The call wrapped up not long after. But I knew that conversation was going to get back to Mom and Victoria. They were going to be pissed that I was telling people what actually happened, instead of just taking responsibility for being dramatic. Sure enough, the next day, I get a long text from Victoria. "I can't believe you're telling people lies about our family. What Mom said at dinner wasn't meant to hurt you. You're making us look terrible for no reason." Lies, that's what she called it. When I told the truth about how they treated me, that's when I realized I was done playing defense. If they wanted to paint me as the bad guy, fine, but I wasn't going to let them control the narrative anymore. Time to show everyone exactly what this dramatic guy with success going to his head was actually capable of. I pulled out my phone and started thinking about how to tell my own story. Not their version, where I was an ungrateful son, having a breakdown. My version, where a guy finally stopped accepting disrespect from people who were supposed to support him. Social media isn't really my thing, but maybe it was time to change that. So I created an Instagram account and spent a Saturday afternoon going through all the photos I'd taken during the renovation, before shots of the disaster I'd bought, progress pics showing the work in different stages, and after shots of the finished house. The transformation was pretty dramatic when you saw it all laid out like that, from condemned foreclosure to dream home in 9 months. Every room completely rebuilt, every detail planned and executed by hand. I posted a series of before and after shots with a long caption about buying a house everyone said was hopeless, spending months rebuilding it from scratch and learning some hard truths about who really supports you along the way. Didn't mention my family by name, but I included this line: sometimes the people who believe in you least are the ones closest to you. Build your life for those who celebrate your success, not those who minimize it. Also wrote about how manual labor gets looked down on by people who've never built anything themselves, how there's skill and artistry in construction work that goes way beyond just fixing things. How satisfying it is to take something broken and make it beautiful again. Figured maybe a few friends would see it. And that would be the end of it. Boy, was I wrong. The post started getting likes and comments right away. Local contractors I knew were sharing it, tagging other guys in the trades. Then some bigger home renovation accounts picked it up. Within a couple days, it had hundreds of likes and dozens of comments. But the comments were what really got me. Guys telling their own stories about family members who didn't respect their work. Women in construction sharing experiences about relatives who didn't take them seriously. People talking about how they'd been underestimated and had to prove themselves over and over. This electrician from across town commented, "Been there, man." My dad kept asking when I was going to get a real job, even after I started my own company. Some people only respect work if it involves a desk. Even got comments from people outside the trades. Office workers saying they wish they had skills to build something with their hands. Parents saying they were going to show the post to their kids to demonstrate that success comes in different forms. The post kept growing. Local news sites started reaching out, wanting to do features on the renovation. A few contractors who'd been following the posts offered me partnership opportunities on bigger projects. One guy wanted to hire me to renovate his whole rental property portfolio. But the best response came from other people who'd felt dismissed by their families. Messages from guys who'd been told their work wasn't good enough. From people who'd had to prove their worth over and over to relatives who just didn't get it. Made me realize I wasn't the only one dealing with this kind of thing. Lots of people out there working their asses off in jobs that don't get respect, getting treated like they're somehow less successful than their office working siblings. Of course, Mom and Victoria saw the posts. Mom left a comment that she deleted within an hour. So proud of my son's talents. Family first always. Like she was trying to rewrite history in public. Victoria tried a different approach. She showed up at a job site where I was working on a kitchen remodel, acting all friendly and supportive. "Marcus, I saw your Instagram posts. They're incredible. I had no idea you were this talented." I kept working. Didn't look up from the cabinet I was installing. "Yeah, well now you know. Look, I think we got off on the wrong foot about the house thing. Maybe we could start over. I'd love to see what you've done, learn more about your work." I finally stopped what I was doing and looked at her. "Victoria, you had 26 years to learn about my work. You had 26 years to show interest in what I do. You don't get to show up now, that other people are impressed, and act like you always believed in me." Her face changed, got that cold look she always had when things didn't go her way. "So, what, you're just cutting us off permanently over some misunderstanding at a dinner?" "It wasn't a misunderstanding. You and Mom made it clear for years that what I do doesn't matter, that I'm just the guy who helps with heavy lifting. I'm not angry about it anymore, but I'm also not pretending it didn't happen." She stood there for a minute, then shook her head. "Dad would be disappointed in how you're treating family." That was her playing the guilt card one more time, using Dad's memory to try to make me feel bad for having boundaries. Dad would probably be proud that I finally stopped waiting for approval from people who were never going to give it. She left after that. Haven't heard from either of them since, except for Mom sending a birthday card last month with a note saying she hopes I'll come to my senses soon. But honestly, I'm better than I've been in years. That Instagram post led to more work than I can handle. I'm booked solid for the next 10 months with clients who actually appreciate skilled craftsmanship. Started a waiting list for people who want renovations done. The Instagram account's blown up. Almost 6,000 followers now. Mostly contractors and folks into home renovation. I post progress shots from current projects. And I've been getting a ton of messages from guys asking for tips on their own builds. Even met someone through it. An architect named Sophia from one of my new clients. We started seeing each other. And for the first time, I'm with someone who actually gets it. She lights up talking about design plans and treats what I do like the skilled, legitimate profession it is. Total game changer. For the first time in my life, I'm not the guy who fixes things for everyone else. I'm the guy who built something incredible and doesn't need anyone's permission to be proud of it.